December 29, 1980. A lonely Texas road. A diamond-shaped object hovers, spitting flames, as three ordinary people stare in awe and terror. Hours later, they're sick, skin blistering, hair falling out. Radiation poisoning? From what? Then 23 military helicopters swarm the scene. Was this a UFO? Or a secret experiment gone wrong? Stick around as we unravel the Cash Landrum incident. A chilling mystery of lights in the sky, unexplained illnesses, and a government that won't talk. Could this happen to you? Let's find out. Picture this. It's a cold, quiet night, just days after Christmas, 1980. Betty Cash, a 51-year-old restaurant owner, is driving down a desolate stretch of FM 1485 in rural Texas. Beside her is Vicki Landrum, 57, a no-nonsense grandmother, and in the back seat, Vicki's 7-year-old grandson, Colby, peering out the window. The pine trees loom tall on either side, and the road ahead is swallowed by darkness. It's the kind of night where you feel alone in the world, until something shatters that illusion. Suddenly, a blinding light pierces the sky. Betty slams on the brakes. Above the road, hovering low enough to feel its presence, is an object unlike anything they've ever seen. It's shaped like a diamond, glowing with an eerie brilliance, and it's massive, big enough to block their path. Flames shoot from its base, licking the air with an unnatural heat. The car's interior grows stifling, the metal dashboard almost too hot to touch. Colby starts crying, his small voice trembling with fear. Vicki clutches him, whispering reassurances she doesn't fully believe herself. Betty, wide-eyed, steps out of the car, mesmerized yet terrified by the sight. What was this thing? It didn't hum like a plane or roar like a helicopter. It just hovered, defying everything they knew about the world. The heat was unbearable, like standing too close to an open furnace. Betty would later say it felt like her skin was burning, even from a distance. The trio watched, frozen, as the object lingered 5 minutes, maybe 10. Time seemed to stretch, each second heavier than the last. Then, as abruptly as it appeared, it began to rise, drifting eastward toward the horizon, leaving a trail of questions in its wake. But here's where it gets stranger. This wasn't just a fleeting light in the sky. This was an encounter that left marks. On their car, on their bodies, and on their lives. Could a simple drive home really turn into a brush with the unknown? And if this wasn't a hallucination, what kind of force could hover over a Texas backroad, radiating heat and light, and then vanish without a trace? The answers, or lack of them, only deepen the mystery. For Betty, Vicki, and Colby, that night was just the beginning. Something lingered after the object disappeared. Something that would haunt them in ways they couldn't yet imagine. What do you think they saw that night? A visitor from another world? A secret too big to be explained? Let's keep going, because what happened next might make you question everything. The glowing object was gone, drifting off into the Texas night. But for Betty Cash, Vicki Landrum, and young Colby, the ordeal was far from over. As they drove home, shaken and silent, something unsettling began to take hold. Within hours, their bodies started to rebel. Betty felt it first. A searing headache, nausea twisting her stomach, her eyes burning like they'd been doused in acid. By morning, her skin erupted in blisters, red and raw, as clumps of hair fell from her scalp. Vicki wasn't spared either. Her vision blurred, and sores appeared on her arms. Even Colby, just a child, complained of dizziness and vomited repeatedly. What was happening to them? These weren't symptoms of a cold or a bad meal. Doctors were baffled. Betty checked into a hospital, where staff noted her condition mirrored something chilling: radiation poisoning. Her white blood cell count plummeted, her skin peeling away in layers. Vicki and Colby showed milder signs, but the pattern was eerily similar. Radiation, from a light in the sky. The idea sounds wild, yet the evidence was written on their bodies. Betty lost over 30 pounds in weeks, her strength draining away. Vicki's hair thinned, and Colby's nightmares began. Cries about the fire in the sky echoing through the house. Could this really be a coincidence? They'd been healthy before that night, no history of strange illnesses. The timing was too perfect or too terrifying. Some experts whispered about ionizing radiation, the kind that could penetrate skin and shred cells. But from what source? A hovering diamond spitting flames doesn't exactly fit the profile of a nuclear spill. And yet, the symptoms kept piling up, undeniable and bizarre. Betty's doctors couldn't explain it. Tests came back inconclusive, leaving more questions than answers. Here's a thought to chew on. If this wasn't radiation, what else could burn 3 people from the inside out, all at once, after a single night? A chemical leak? A shared delusion with physical scars? Or dare we consider it something beyond our understanding, something that left its mark and slipped away? The trio didn't have time to ponder theories. They were too busy fighting to survive. Betty's hospital stays stretched on, her life unraveling with each new symptom. And yet, the strangest twist was still to come. If this was just a random encounter, why did the skies fill with military helicopters shortly after? What did they know that Betty, Vicky, and Colby didn't? Hold that question tight, because the next piece of this puzzle might make you wonder who or what was really watching that night. The object was gone, the sickness had begun, but the night of December 29, 1980, wasn't done delivering shocks. As Betty, Vicky, and Colby drove away from that glowing nightmare on FM 1485, something else broke the silence of the Texas pines. A low, thundering rumble filled the air. They looked up and saw them. Helicopters, not 1 or 2, but dozens, 23, by Vicky's count, swarming the sky like a scene from a war zone. These weren't civilian choppers. They were Chinooks, massive twin-rotor beasts used by the military. Their silhouettes unmistakable even in the dark. What were they doing there? Vicky swore she saw markings, U.S. Air Force, she thought, though the night made it hard to be sure. The helicopters hovered and circled, some darting eastward, trailing the path the object had taken. Betty, still dazed from the heat, watched in disbelief. Colby clung to his grandmother, the roar of the blades drowning out his whimpers. This wasn't a routine flyover. It felt coordinated, urgent, like they were chasing something, or covering it up. But what? The timing raises eyebrows. A bizarre object appears, burns 3 people with an unseen force and vanishes, only for a fleet of military helicopters to show up minutes later? Coincidence feels like a stretch. Were they tracking it? Escorting it? Some theorize it wasn't an alien craft at all, but a secret U.S. experiment, a prototype gone haywire, maybe nuclear-powered, explaining the radiation-like symptoms. Others whisper the military arrived to clean up a mess they didn't want anyone to see. No official records mention a training exercise that night, and the nearest base, Fort Hood, was over 200 miles away. So where did they come from? Here's a question to mull over. If this was just a random sighting, why the heavy response? Witnesses from nearby towns later claimed they saw helicopters too, buzzing low over the woods. One man even said he spotted lights in the sky again that night, tailed by the same choppers. Was this a containment operation? A test they couldn't admit to? Or, let's go there, were they watching something extraterrestrial slip through their grasp? The military silence only fuels the speculation. Betty and Vicky didn't have answers, but they had resolve. If this thing, whatever it was, hurt them, someone had to know why. They decided to fight back, to demand the truth. What they'd face next wasn't just sickness, but a wall of denial that might make you wonder, what's worth hiding this hard? By 1981, Betty Cash, Vicky Landrum, and Colby were shadows of themselves, sick, scared, and desperate for answers. The glowing object, the helicopters, the burns on their bodies, it all pointed to something bigger. They couldn't shake the feeling that someone knew more than they were letting on. So they did what few would dare. They took on the U.S. government. With the help of lawyers, they filed a $20 million lawsuit in 1982, naming the military as the culprit. Their claim? Whatever happened that night, UFO or secret test, left them poisoned and someone had to pay. The case was a long shot. Betty's medical bills piled up, her health crumbling under the weight of unexplained ailments. Vicky and Colby struggled too, haunted by what they'd seen. They argued the helicopters proved military involvement. Why else would 23 Chinooks swarm a back road? Their lawyers pointed to the symptoms eerily close to radiation exposure and demanded the government explain. Was this a botched experiment? A craft they didn't want to admit existed? The courtroom buzzed with questions, but answers were scarce. The government's response? A flat denial. No records of flights that night, they said. No experimental aircraft. No UFOs. Officials from the Air Force, Army, and NASA testified under oath. Nothing happened. The case dragged on, a grueling battle of wills. By 1986, a federal judge dismissed it. Insufficient evidence, no jurisdiction. Betty and Vicky were left with nothing. No compensation, no closure. The files were sealed, the mystery buried. Or was it? Why the stonewalling? If there was truly nothing to hide, why not release flight logs or radiation data from the area? Skeptics say it's bureaucracy, standard procedure. But others wonder, what's so sensitive that it's worth letting 3 people suffer in silence? The dismissal didn't erase the scars on Betty's skin or the fear in Colby's eyes. It didn't explain the helicopters or the object that lit up the sky. It just left a void that whispers conspiracy to some, coincidence to others. Betty died in 1998, still believing she'd faced something extraordinary. Vicky held firm too, passing in 2007 with the same unanswered questions. Their fight faded, but the echoes linger. What do you think they stumbled into that night? A truth too big to tell? Let's wrap this up and see what it all means. So, what are we left with after the Cashlandrum incident? A diamond-shaped object lighting up a Texas road, 3 people scarred by sickness, 23 military helicopters buzzing in the night, and a government that shrugs it off. December 29, 1980, wasn't just a strange night. It's a puzzle with pieces that don't fit. Betty, Vicky, and Colby saw something, felt it, suffered it, but what? An alien craft slipping through our skies? A military test gone rogue? Its secrets locked away? Or something else entirely, lost to time and silence? The clues tantalize us. The burns, the blisters, the radiation-like symptoms. Too vivid to dismiss as imagination. Those helicopters, too many, too fast, too coordinated for a random patrol. The lawsuit's failure only thickens the fog. No answers, no accountability. Was this a cover-up, burying a truth too wild to admit? Or just a freak event, blown out of proportion by desperate witnesses? Decades later, the files stay closed, the witnesses are gone, and we're still here, wondering. Think about it. Could a single night rewrite everything you assume about the world? What if Betty's story isn't unique? What if others have faced the same, their voices drowned out? The Cashlandrum incident doesn't give us facts. It gives us questions. Questions that itch at your curiosity, that make you glance at the sky a little longer. Was it extraterrestrial? Top secret human tech? Or a glitch in reality we can't grasp? Here's where you come in. What do you believe happened that night? Drop your theory in the comments. I want to hear it. Share this video with someone who loves a good mystery. Maybe they've got a piece we're missing. And if you're hooked on the unexplained, hit that subscribe button. There's more where this came from. The truth might be out there, or it might be buried right here. Either way, we're not done asking.